Hello, I'm Jae Malone. On a cold, bright winter's day, I like to get out into the woods to see our local wildlife. British wildlife is wonderful. Listening to the birds and looking around for any of the animals that are around during the daytime. Anybody tell me what this animal is? Yeah, it's a badger. Now, you're not likely to see one of these during the day because they only come out at night. Now, what I'd like to do is to read you a story about a mother badger and her cubs.
Blue Teaches a Lesson, written by Jae Malone, illustrated by Jess Hawksworth.
As the sun began to go down behind the Mendip Hills, Blue the badger toddled off into the woods to look for food with her 3 cubs, 2 girls, Fern and Leaf, and a boy called Rock, running along behind her. The cubs loved to play and they kept running off, chasing each other around trees, playing tag or hide and seek. Usually when they found a fallen tree trunk or there was a grassy bank, one of them, mostly Fern, who was becoming the bossiest, would climb up and play king of the castle, trying to keep her sister and brother from pushing her off. Most of the time, Blue was quite happy to see her cubs playing, as their games taught them things they would need to know when they grew into adults, and all the running around would make their muscles strong. But there were times when she needed them to pay attention and take notice of what she was trying to teach them, and this was one of those times. Born in January, the cubs were now 11 weeks old and growing fast. It had been a lovely spring day when the sun had shone all day and it was still warm in the woods. The air was buzzing with insects and the birds were still singing in the treetops. But Blue didn't have time to look at everything going on around her. She was too busy catching flies and beetles, and looking under stones for woodlice, and digging up lovely juicy earthworms, as long as she could grab them before they slipped back underground. She also ate acorns that had dropped from oak trees and blackberries if there were any left on the bushes after winter. This evening the cubs had been told to stay close to Blue, as she was going to show them how to find food for themselves. They'd promised to be good and pay attention. Badgers could eat lots of different things, but sometimes food could be hard to find, especially at the end of winter. Blue wanted her young ones to learn what was good and safe to eat, where to find it and how to get it out of awkward places, like inside the bark of a tree. "What's that, Mother?" Fern asked as they passed a strange object lying underneath an oak tree. "Sometimes humans come into the woods and they bring food and drink with them, and they bring everything in one of those," said Blue. "I've heard them call it a picnic basket." Blue shuffled around the basket in case there was any food left over, but found nothing. The lid had broken and it was lying a little way off, but the main part of the basket was over on its side and the cubs were fascinated by it. "Come on," said Blue, "there's nothing for us here." And she toddled off thinking the cubs were following, but when she turned round, they were not behind her. They'd clearly forgotten what they were meant to be doing. Blue sighed and went to see where they were, and she soon found them playing around the picnic basket. Fern climbed on top of it, and Leaf and Rock kept jumping up trying to knock her off. When Blue saw her children playing again, she told them off. "It's time you 3 stopped playing and learned how to look after yourselves," she said. "If you don't behave, you'll go hungry tonight. Now follow me and watch what I do. No more playing. Do you understand?" "Yes, Mother," said Fern with her head bowed. Leaf and Rock nodded. "We're sorry, Mother." For the next few minutes, the cubs stayed close to their mother, watching how to turn over stones, how to get their claws under the bark of a tree and tear it away from the trunk. But they became bored and crept away when Blue wasn't looking and scampered back to the picnic basket, only to find their friends, fox cubs Holly and Berry, playing in it. And forgetting all about their promise, they joined in the fun. Holly and Berry were 2 of the fox cubs whose family lived at the other end of the underground tunnel that the badgers lived in, and all the cubs were great friends. Soon they were all jumping on top of the basket or climbing inside, trying to see how many of them could squeeze in, or making it wobble from side to side, trying to make whoever was on the top fall off. Fern was the biggest and strongest of them all, and as usual she managed to stay on the longest because she held on tightly with her long claws. But when Blue saw her cubs had gone, she knew instantly what they were doing and found them playing with the fox cubs without a care in the world. She sighed again. "What am I to do with them?" But then she waddled off on her own. The cubs were so busy having fun they didn't even notice her. A little further along the path, Blue met Holly and Berry's mother with her other 3 cubs, who were all behaving very well. "Hello, Ivy," said Blue. "Hello, Blue. Have you seen Holly and Berry?" asked Ivy Fox. "They've gone missing again." "Yes, I've seen them," Blue said. "They're over there under the big oak tree playing with my cubs. They found an old basket and it's become something to play on. Tonight was supposed to be their learning time, but they're not taking any notice." Said Ivy. "Maybe you need to teach them a lesson. They'll grow up so quickly and there's so much they need to know. I'm lucky with these three, they're well behaved, but Holly and Berry are so naughty." "You're right, Ivy. I've been too soft with them. They're 11 weeks old now and it won't be long before they're grown up and will have to look after themselves. I can't always be around to find food for them. I'll do it tonight. Right, I'm going now. See you tomorrow." After an hour of hunting about in the woods for food and still not getting her cubs to join her, Blue gave up and filled her tummy, then decided to return home, and although she called the cubs to come with her, they were having so much fun they didn't hear her. After a while, Holly and Berry decided to go home, but Fern, Leaf and Rock carried on playing until they became tired. That was when they realised their mother was no longer around, and they ran home. "So, you finally come home," said Blue. "Right, it's late. So off you go, straight to bed." Fern's tummy rumbled. "But I'm hungry, Mother," she said. "Well, if you hadn't been playing, you could have found food like I did. Now you'll just have to go to bed without any supper," said Blue. "It's too late for you to go out and find food for yourself now." "But I'm hungry too," said Leaf. "So am I," said Rock. "Well, maybe you'll pay attention tomorrow evening when we go into the woods again. Now off you go to bed." Fern, Leaf and Rock trundled off to bed, very upset. Leaf was so hungry she began to cry as she snuggled up to her siblings in their cosy sleeping chamber that was all lined with dead leaves, dried grass and feathers. But even though their bed was comfortable, it didn't cheer her up. She was so hungry. About an hour later, when Blue thought they would probably have learned their lesson, she called out to them to come and join her. On the floor, she'd set out a small pile of wriggling earthworms, seeds, pine cones, acorns and scuttling woodlice. The cubs squealed with delight. "While you were playing, I was collecting food. Make no mistake, I don't mind you playing, it's good for you. But from now on, perhaps you'll remember to eat first. Right now, food is easy to find and that's good, and play is good. But you'll need to eat more and play less during these warmer months. You must eat a lot to help you get through next winter when there won't be as much food around. So now you know what it's like to be hungry. I hope you've learned a lesson." Fern looked at her sister and brother and said, "We will, Mother. From now on, when we go out with you, we'll listen and we'll learn."